Steve Berry and this is Bike Shows UK, and this week we're in lovely Kent for the Garden of England motorcycle show. It's kind of like the southeast equivalent of the BMF show, not quite so large but no less perfectly formed, and it's great fun. The Jevons event is a firm favourite with bike enthusiasts throughout the southeast of England. The show is in its 8th year and over 17,000 people are expected to attend. It's being held at the Hop Farm in the heart of Kent. The farm boasts the world's largest collection of host houses. Now, one of the best things about the Jevons show is that it takes place on a huge site down here at the Hop Farm in Kent, and because the site is so huge, you're able to indulge in all sorts of activities like driving a hovercraft. Derek, do you actually drive a hovercraft? Do you pilot it? Do you fly it? Do you ride it? What do you do?
Good question. I mean, most times we call them drivers rather than pilots. Yeah, because you are actually under control of it, like a car in some ways.
You do need a big old space though, don't you?
Big old space, especially to learn with. You need plenty of space to get used to the way it turns and the way it handles.
Yeah. I was quite surprised when you told me 22 horsepower motor on this thing, big old 4-stroke engine.
Yep.
And remembering physics, I think I did it for O-level or A-level physics. It's the principle of sort of the curtain of air. There's downforce, isn't there? Downwards pressure, and then there's propulsion in the other direction. So presumably that motor's providing both the downward force to keep it off the ground and the force out the back to make it go forwards.
Yeah, there's
or backwards. Can they go backwards?
Well, sometimes.
What, is that when you get it wrong?
When you get it wrong, yeah. Or to stop fast, you can actually turn it backwards and use the thrust to stop you, pull you to a halt that way.
I've heard rumours of somebody's got a Fireblade engine in one of these. Have you?
Yeah, I also have a friend with an R1 engine.
An R1
as well.
engine?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ah! So that's the difference between 22 horsepower and 150 horsepower.
Yep, and that's just the thrust engine. That doesn't include the lift engine.
So it's got an R1 engine and no brakes, because these things haven't got any brakes at all, have they?
No brakes at all.
I suppose it's time for me to have a go and prove just how good I am in one of these. Any tips?
Well, what we'll do is teach you about how to move your body weight around the craft, because that is really the key skill to it.
Ah, so it's a bit like a quad?
A little bit, but you balance it backwards and forwards and left and right. You initiate turn by moving the rudder and also by throwing your weight and moving your weight around the craft.
What you mean is you can initiate a turn by turning the rudder, but don't expect it just to turn by turning the handlebars.
No, you have to set your turns up.
So you've got to lean out of the thing?
If you lean into the turn, then you'll find it will turn much faster.
Right.
And it becomes very natural after a very short time.
Right, well, it's a loud old thing, so let's fire it up and get me helmeted and kitted out. So, once Derek had given me a few pointers, off I went. Well, the funny thing's Hovercraft, it's the second time I've driven one, and you're going along and you think, oh, massive hole, better avoid that, because if you're on a quad or a bike or even in a 4-wheel drive, you'd obviously try and go around a massive great big hole. But on a Hovercraft, it doesn't matter, you can just go straight over it. Doesn't matter what the surface is. They don't turn, they sort of drift and slide and glide, which is quite fun actually. And even though they've got no brakes, you can just kill the power and they more or less sort of plough themselves into the ground. But I don't think I'll be swapping one for my Ducati just yet. Fun though. The show is split between trade stands, exhibitors and the main arena. This year the main arena is packed with entertainment from various stunt riders. None more exciting than Jumpin' Jake Semtex. Jake holds the British long distance wheelie record at 64 miles non-stop, and he also holds the world record for jumping over moving cars. Jake, when did you first decide to become a motorcycle stuntman? And what made you want to be a motorcycle stuntman?
Back in them days, it was Evel Knievel was the top man. And my first time as a stunt rider was back in 1980.
Really? So you're a bit of a veteran. I wasn't going to mention that, no.
Yeah, I did my show in 1980 was the first time I actually done a performance. My wheeling wasn't really up to par then, and I just sort of got through the day, you know, doing a few tricks and this and that. But from then on, I've gone from strength to strength.
How's the show developed over the years? You obviously got Ms. Semtex here.
That's right, we've got young Sonia Semtex now, my daughter, so she's taken on board riding the quad bike with me. And as far as development's concerned, we've moved on to quad bikes as well as the motocross bikes and the super bikes.
Because you don't just do bike shows, do you? You actually do shows where it's the general public. And do you find that they want something different to a motorcycle audience?
That's right, they do want something different.
Explosions, basically, don't they? Yeah.
Well, this is it. Instead of just doing your usual sort of burnouts and donuts and that sort of thing on big bikes, and we sort of added a little bit of Hollywood into it, so we start blowing cars up and doing something different, because you see so much of the same thing nowadays. It's nice to have a bit of sort of Hollywood brought into the arena.
But you were saying that people seem to quite like it when you get it wrong. It's not the end of the world. If you sort of make a mistake, I think people can see how real it is, can't they? When it kind of, I've been there before myself in an arena in front of thousands of people, and it all goes horribly wrong.
Oh,
and you've just got to keep going, haven't you, Jay?
Oh, definitely. We've been there. There was a time when you start firing guns and the guns won't go off. People start laughing, so you just pretend. I was in a getaway car and the car wouldn't start, and the guy who was supposed to be chasing me ended up pushing the car for me. But, you know, people know it's corny, they know it's put on, so I mean, you just sort of go with the flow, and then instead of doing something serious, it turns into a comedy routine, and it's more fun, it's more the merrier, really.
Right, so you're just waiting for your daughter to get big enough and good enough to do all the rest of the stuff, and then you'll move into the role of team manager, will you?
Something like that, yeah.
Eventually.
At the moment, we've got Sonia, she's just starting to do the wheelies, she does donuts and things on the quad, and hopefully within the next few weeks or so, she's going to start doing a bit of jumping. So.
And then you can have a rest, mate.
Much needed rest.
From Hondas to helmets, Suzuki's to suits, BMWs to boots, you name it, and if it involves bikes, it'll be at the show. Events like this are an opportunity for people to show off their bikes or trikes. As the hot day wears on, it all gets a bit much for some people. Right, well, I travelled down here from the northwest to get to the Garden of England motorcycle show, a few hundred miles and all on the motorway. Horrible, but when I did get here, I had the opportunity to discover the Kent countryside. Beautiful place, some great biking roads. No, I wasn't on this one. Do you like it? It's big, isn't it? It was in Kent that Julius Caesar landed in 55 BC and uttered the immortal line, "I came, I saw, I conquered." Known as the Garden of England, Kent is a county filled with countryside and castles. Whilst on my way to the BMF Gems show, I stopped off at the Oakdene Cafe. Now this is a traditional transport cafe, just off the M20 Junction 3 on the A20 at Wrotham. It provides a welcome stopping off point for passing motorists, long-haul drivers and other weary travellers. But over the years, it's become a regular meeting place for bikers, especially on Wednesday evenings and all-day Sundays. I met up with the owner, Janet, to find out why it's become so popular with bikers. Janet, how long has the cafe been here?
I've been here for 21 years.
But it was here before you,
1926, I believe.
Crikey. And it was presumably an important route between London and Dover, where wagons could stop and...
It was the main A20 before all the motorways were. And I think the M26 came in the early 80s.
How long have motorcyclists been coming here?
About 10 years, I suppose.
Really?
Now.
Is that all? I thought this would have been sort of one of the places in the 50s, you know, like the Ace Cafe or something like that.
No, they used to go up at West Kingsdown. That was when they used to play the jukebox and go down Death Hill and round.
Really? Death Hill?
Yeah.
Crikey. So it's always quite busy at weekends, is it?
Well, the Wednesday, there's a sort of, I was asked originally to open on a Wednesday for bikers to meet here, which was gradually built up over the years. It's got on the net and all different places. But
are we talking big numbers then on a Wednesday in the summer?
well, sometimes they can be up to 1,000 here, which doesn't sound a lot, but when
Oh,
it's
it does.
in the amount of space and I've had lots of problems with neighbours.
Now, what about yourself?
About myself.
Have you been tempted to get on two wheels as one of the guys?
When I was young, my brother used to ride a bike, and I used to go. This is when Johnson's was about.
Yeah.
I used to go, and I had a scooter myself.
Right. You provide a fine service to the motorcyclists of the area.
Oh well, I've never had any problems with them. They've always been treated me well, and there's never been fights or any problems here. With them.
So, what do the bikers think?
Well, it's a good place to come when the weather's good on a Sunday and meet up with different bikers and get new ideas, and go on different runs as well with them.
Yeah, I've been coming here about 10 years. I lived locally, so it's a good place to come swap tips with other bikers with similar models.
It's a good place to come meet other bikers with similar interests, have a look at the bikes, and good meeting place for going on runs.
Everybody we know comes here.
Yeah.
It's just general meeting place. If you want to find someone, you can usually guarantee you'll find them on a Sunday down here.
It's a good cafe, it's not a club. It's
You can
okay.
meet up with a crowd of people to go for a ride if you want to, or just have a cup of tea and then go home and do what you want to do. It's just very casual, very laid back whole thing. It's great.
Kent has some fantastic biking roads to offer. The A20 from Swanley all the way to Folkestone takes you through some fabulous countryside and gives you the opportunity to test your biking talents. More from my travels later. Well, that's all from part one, but don't go anywhere because we'll be back very soon with lots more from the Garden of England Motorcycle Show. Welcome back to Bike Shows UK with me, Steve Berry. This week I'm at a gem of a show in Kent, the Garden of England Motorcycle Show, and I'm with Matt from the Flying Gunners, who are due out in the arena to entertain the crowds any moment. Matt, you're all serving soldiers, aren't you, in the Flying Gunners?
Yep, we are. Yep, we're all professional soldiers chosen from different regiments in the Royal Artillery.
Now, obviously, you've got some lightweight Kawasaki motocross bikes, but that's not normally the bike that the British Army use, especially not in these garish colours, is it?
No, definitely not. No, they use Harley 350s.
Hold on a minute. They use Harley Davidsons.
Davidsons.
When people think of Harley Davidson, they think of perhaps something with like chrome white sport wheels and tassels all over the place.
Definitely not.
It's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, very different. Yeah, it's basically the same sort of thing as you see, but it's a lot heavier. It's metal petrol tanks. It's basically a lot heavier bike, and it's not designed as well as the Kawasaki's are because they're obviously competition bikes.
So how many shows do you guys do in a year?
Well, roughly we do about 25 shows a year, and that's 2 shows a day. So you can add that up to about 50 shows, maybe more, 50 plus.
And when you're not doing this, do you do ordinary soldiering? When I say ordinary, I mean, do you do big guns? You are the Royal Artillery after all.
Well, no, we mainly do the training in the winter because of the job. I mean, it is a dangerous job we do, and you've got to have all the training possible that you can possibly get. Yeah.
Right, well, it's time for you to get on your bike, take your beret off and get your crash helmet on and get in the arena. Now, yesterday, I had a ride round the beautiful Kent countryside and I came across a motorcycle club with a big difference. In the pretty Kentish village of Yalding is a motorcycle shop with a difference. This store stocks bikes that no other UK dealer would dare. And I met up with Chris Marshall, the owner of C&C Motorcycles, to find out why he decided to sell these old brands.
Right, we became interested in these machines really because of the utility way that the vehicles are. They're not related particularly to fashion or anything like that. They're simple and basic, and we saw a niche market for these sort of bikes. Myself and my wife, we were at a stage in life where we thought we'd perhaps go into something different. This has been my hobby for many years, and we decided to do it in a professional way. Right, the bikes that we sell here are the Royal Enfield, which has been made in India since the 50s and is as popular today as it ever was. The other main selling machine that we do here is the Ural, which is mostly outfits that we sell, and they're made in Urbit in Siberia. The type of people that own these bikes, I can really only describe them as individuals. They're usually non-mainstream, people that perhaps have done the full cycle of motorcycling and really have come back to their grassroots.
There's been so much interest in these bikes that Chris has set up a club especially for owners of Urals and Royal Enfields.
Joining the club is free. Most people will join the club through our website. We have a page on there for people to join. It's really aimed at sort of nationally, but we do get people joining from really all over the world. But really the idea was nationally. They can also come in and join the club. No charge, nothing like that, just enthusiasts.
Some of the bikes in the store are just for display, more for historic interest than anything else.
Right, this particular machine is a Ural. It's a Ural Cobra. I believe they only ever produced 8 and they all came to the UK. What makes this particular bike interesting is because at the time it was the only production hardtail machine. There's no suspension on the back, it's just a chunky back tyre that gives it its rear suspension. And they quite quickly realised it was not really suitable for bumpy roads. And so what we have here is probably one of probably 5 which is still in existence.
These bikes may appeal to some people. I think I'll stick with the Ducati. Back to the main arena, and the Flying Gunners are about to entertain us. Once the Gunners have left the arena, it's time for a rather unusual sporting activity. This is motorball. It's football, but it's on motorbikes. It started in the First World War. When army dispatch riders got bored, they began to play 11-a-side football with a normal-sized football, and it progressed from there. The game was surprisingly popular in the 50s and the 60s, but sadly, these guys are the only team left in the UK. This game is the only one of the year, so why haven't they practised for the show?
We can't get a practice pitch. Motorcycles are regarded as antisocial, and they think that we'll rip the ground to pieces, where we're all, you know, dads and working, and most of us are all past the age of 40, and some of us are past the age of 50. None of us are getting any younger, and we need some new enthusiasm. We need some youngsters coming in. Dave, the other guy that's here, his 2 sons now play, and that's helped the club immensely.
So, what are the rules of motorball?
Basically, 250cc motorcycle, 2-stroke or 4-stroke. We adapt it by having a smaller front wheel put in. We drop the forks through the yokes to make the bike lower to the ground, so we don't run over the ball when we're carrying the ball against the machine. Most of the bikes are adapted so they've got a dual rear brake. It doesn't matter which side your gear lever is, whether it's left or right. The Continentals, they have hand gear change, 4 levers on the handlebars, but we haven't quite got to that stage.
Now, it wouldn't be a successful biking weekend without the campers. Several hundred tents have been pitched at this show, and as the daytime visitors headed home, the campers have come out to party under the summer evening sky.
Here Andy and Jill, they've come from Portsmouth on an XJR 1300. I have one of these myself, good bike. What do you make of the show?
Yeah, it's good. Very chilled out, you know, you don't have to do a lot if you don't want to. Lots of stalls, fun fair.
It's not too big though, is it? It's not like the BMF where it's like
No, it's
forever and ever and you just think, my feet hurt, I want to go
That's
home.
it. It's not as big as the Bulldog.
Yeah. So do you kind of mix and match the sort of shows you go to? You know, some of them are the sort of hardcore Motorhead, let's all get drunk and fall asleep in the field, with sort of events like this which are a bit more family orientated and a bit less sort of hardcore.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to do some more smaller rallies. You know, a couple of 100 people rather than something this big.
My favourite bit, I think part of the socialising has been brilliant. The whole show is very good value for money, and everything is just where you want it to be. It's a bloody show.
So guys, where have you come from?
Bournemouth.
On the XJR 1300?
XJR, yeah.
Not much room for luggage on one of those, hence the somewhat bijou accommodation.
Very bijou,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's all right for you, you don't have to carry it.
Oh, it's heavy enough, I can tell you.
Yeah, that's good. That's the first time we've been. It seems very well organised. The camping is brilliant. Yeah, it's good.
What about the event itself? Is it something you come to every year, or?
Yeah, I've not done BMF here before. Done the Southwest show, but that wasn't BMF obviously. But it's a good show. Yeah, it's really. But I thought this was going to be a little bit bigger, but it's very good. There's a lot of nice stalls and that. Yeah,
it's a great venue for camping, though, isn't it? Fantastic site.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
It's very friendly, very family-orientated show. Everyone's nice and friendly, youngsters, older people here, and very well organised.
Right, well that's just about it from sun-drenched Kent and the Garden of England Motorcycle Show. I'm off now for a well-deserved beer, just for the purposes of rehydration, you understand, so join me soon for another Bike Shows UK.